activities people together.
De către Chez Bushwick, care este un club cultural. Ei au decis ca în această seară să o dedice și să facă un omagiu marelui sculptor român, Constantin Brânjar. Prezentările vor fi făcute în limba engleză, iar noi, ca reprezentanți ai Dacian Revival, vom vorbi despre paralelele dintre arta marelui sculptor cu arta dacă și predacă. Vom vorbi despre aceste influențe și rădăcini ale marii culturi dace care le-au influențat pe sculptorul Brânjar. Vă rugăm să ne ajutați cu prezentarea. Mulțumim și pe curând!
Hai să spui ceva? Gata. Ce acum?
Don't listen to them because anyhow you are not going to understand too much.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are all set. Everybody is here, and I'm going to make some short introductions, but I think everybody can introduce himself. We are actually 4 people here, but it's going to be 2 speakers for tonight on this panel, talking about the importance and the value of Constantin Brânjar and the links to a past that maybe you don't actually know, but you will know more about. The first speaker, actually, I don't know, we don't have an order, but we could first.
He's the last one, let's be the first one.
Well, first of all, I'd like to apologize for being late. As much as I come here, it seems I always get stupendously lost when I'm in New York, which was the case today. My name is Andrew Luke, and I studied sculpture at Central St. Martin's and did my thesis on Constantin Brânjar. After doing my degree, I moved to Bucharest, where I've been based for the last 6 years. And I've always had a fascination for Brânjar's work and everything that entails all his signs and the images and the visions that he conveys with his works. So I'm here to do a short presentation of some of his works. So I'll begin. Constantin Brânjar. These days, Brânjar's abstract sculptures are seen among the pioneering works of modern art. The sculpture found themes in nature, in the folk art of his homeland, and also in African art. Brânjar's sculptures are concentrated on clear forms and he used exclusively natural materials such as stone, bronze, and wood. Constantin Brâncuș was born in Romania in 1876 as the son of a farmer. After training as a cabinet maker, he studied for 4 years at the renowned Academy of Arts in Bucharest. In 1904, he was drawn to what was then the Mecca of the avant-garde, Paris. He quickly made contact with the art scene and was friends with such important artists as Amadeo Modigliani, Alexander Archipenko, Marcel Duchamp, and Jean Cocteau. Auguste Rodin, the famous sculptor and painter, exercised a fascination with Brâncuș, and Rodin invited him to work in his studio. The young artist refused the offer, however, because he wanted to find his own style. Brâncuș noticeably disassociated himself from his great role model Rodin. He became increasingly inspired by natural and mythological themes from his Romanian homeland and themes from nature. He was gripped by materials like wood, stone, and bronze. His works, some of which he continued doing over decades, were marked by great simplicity coupled with an elementary expressiveness. For example, there are 14 variations on the kiss theme alone. Similarly, Brâncuș takes up the motif of the sleeping muse again and again, and in the course of 20 years refines it to a smoothly polished egg shape. Moreover, the egg becomes the elementary symbol of fertility, life and mental absorption for him, an affirmation to which he sought to do justice in his works, and which was clearly at the forefront. Brâncuș had his first solo exhibition in New York and became acquainted with important American collectors as early as 1940. In 1921, he met the photographer Manuel, who introduced him to photography. In the 1930s, he focused increasingly on the connection between architecture and sculpture. The sculpture King of Kings, as described in his planning operation into a temple, is only one example of this. Another is the monument in Brooklyn, which was commissioned by the government and is considered the culmination of his work. It is a monument to the victims of the First World War. Brâncuș used an object that he had already sketched in 1918, the end spider. He executed this motif several times and repeatedly developed it in the years after 1918. In the case of the Heroes Monument, which was built in 1938, he gave the endless column monumental proportions. It reaches a height of 30 meters. Beside the column, Brâncuș had a table of silence and a escape gate, both of which also refer to themes in his work. This ensemble of endless column, table, and gate symbolizes a humanistic and pacifistic philosophy that simultaneously indicates the both purification and redemption. The fusion of architecture and sculpture achieved by Brâncuș here is much to establish his reputation as one of the most important sculptors of the avant-garde and influenced many artists and architects. In the last decade of his life, Brâncuș occupied himself primarily with large-scale projects. Among others, he found the construction of the Infinite Column as a skyscraper in Chicago. The monument in Bushwick commemorates the civilians who died while protecting the tower. The German invasion during World War I is considered to be Brâncuș's greatest achievement. Three main components of this sculptural complex, the Table of Silence, the Gate of Kiss, and the Endless Column, are arranged along a single avenue of heroes to represent the three stages of human life: birth and childhood, marriage, and death. The Table of Silence, located at one end of the public park, is a circular slab of stone surrounded by 12 stone stools, each in the form of two hemispheres placed back to back to resemble an hourglass. This part of the monument is shaped like the low tables found in traditional peasant huts in Romania, and also like the round communion tables in Greek Orthodox churches. As Brâncuș explained, it represents the unity of family gathered to dine and rest, though in fact the stools are placed so far from the table that it would be impossible to actually eat them. By extension, the table implies communal interchange, praising the townspeople who rallied to fight off the enemy. With its dozen hourglass-shaped stools around a circle, the table is clearly a reference to passage of time and to the cyclical flow of hours in the day or months of the year. At the same time, the slab of the table is reminiscent of Brâncuș's geometric bases. The emptiness of this base mirrors the emptiness left in the community by the death of the heroes during the war. Just as its title, Table of Silence, points to an absence of sound, the table also points to the absence of the people whose death it commemorates. On the opposite end of the same park stands the Gate of the Kiss, also made of stone and reminiscent of a triumphal arch. On each of its two columns, each face bears the kiss motif, concept in Brynjar's previous works. Here it is simplified to two huge rectangles pressed against each other, with semicircular eyes, as the eyes of a person seen in profile, that face each other and fuse to form a bisected circle. A more detailed kiss motif is incised 40 times on the entablature supported by the two columns. The image of a couple kissing and united by a mutual gaze is for Brynjar the ultimate representation of the amalgamation of a man and woman through love. At the same time, the egg-like circle formed by the pair of eyes suggests the cycle of procreation. The gateway to the beyond, as Brynjar called it, leads the visitor out of the park and towards the endless column, the final site of the memorial. A 96-foot structure, at once an obelisk and a totem pole, is made of a series of cast iron rhomboid modules or beads, and resembles the carved wooden columns that support the roofs of traditional peasant houses in Romania. In Târgu Jiu, when a person dies, it is customary to cut down a fir tree and plant it at the head of the grave, so that the tree may weep for the deceased as it sheds its needles into the grave below. The column is thus a stylized fir tree and a symbol of death. At the same time, Brynjar intended it as a stairway to heaven. Indeed, everything about it suggests an upward movement into cosmic endlessness, transcending both gravity and mortality. From below, the higher beads appear smaller, suggesting an infinite recession in space. The fact that the topmost bead is a half rhombus, a square pyramid with its face pointing to the sky, suggests perpetual incompleteness and thus the potential for continuation. In this way, the column is literally endless, and like the rest of the monument, is an exultant celebration of the cycle of human life.
Thank you, Andy, for this introduction on Constantin Brynjar and especially his sculptural complex in Târgu Jiu. I think we can move forward.
Okay, Liz. The lady the right to start.
Hi.
Let's see what you can tell us.
I'm Rumisava, and I'm a member of Dacia Revival Society. This is a society that was founded by Dr. Săvescu because we both are of Romanian background. We were born in Romania. We're proud Americans though. But we want to consider and honor the Dacian roots of our ancestry. And I'm here because Dr. Săvescu is a person who is very interested in sharing with the rest of the world the ancient roots of today's Romanians, but he's a person who has noticed the parallels between the ancient art and the art that Brynjar has created and developed. So we kind of split the presentation tonight. I'll just give a little background, a little overview about Brynjar. But then Dr. Săvescu will talk about the actual art parallel, because in addition to that, he's been going to archaeological sites, he's been going to various museums, and he noticed the fact that how much Brynjar's work resembles the thousands of years old type of sculptures and art, and he will give you some of those examples from his own experiences. So if you allow me, I'll just bring you a little bit more background regarding our incredible artist Brynjar. The Romanian sculptor Constantin Brynjar was born in February 1876 in Hobița, which is a village in Romania's Carpathian Mountains, an area known for its rich tradition of folk crafts, particularly ornate wood carving. His parents, Nicolae and Maria Brynjar, were poor peasants who earned a meager living through back-breaking labor, and from the age of 7 he herded the family's flock of sheep. He showed remarkable talent for carving objects out of wood. At the age of 9, Brynjar left the village to work at menial jobs in the nearest largest town. At 13, he went to Craiova, where he worked at the grocery store for several years. When he was 18, impressed by Brynjar's talent for carving, his employer financed his education at the Craiova School of Crafts. There, he indulged his love for woodworking, and he taught himself to read and write, and graduated with honors in 1898. He studied at the National School of Arte Frumoase, National School of Fine Arts in Bucharest from 1898 to 1901. Eager to continue his education in Paris, Brâncuș arrived there in 1904 enrolled in the École des Beaux-Arts in 1905. The following year, his sculpture was shown at the Salon d'Automne, where he met Auguste Rodin. Brâncuș's Dacian art and culture influences met Rodin's. After leaving Rodin's workshop, Brâncuș began to develop the revolutionary style for which he is known. Brâncuș wished to make the work much simpler and began an innovative search for the pure form by reducing his creation to a few basic elements. Paradoxically, now, Brâncuș's sculptures are rightly considered to be the work of a modern master, when in fact he is a follower of ancient Dacian traditions. The Romanian sculptor Constantin Brâncuș was a central figure of the modern movement and a pioneer of abstractionism, as some people are considering him. But let's see what was Brâncuș's opinion about being considered a pioneer of abstractionism. The people who call my work abstract are imbeciles. What they call abstract is in fact the pure realism, the reality which is not represented by the external form, but by the idea behind it, the essence of the work. What is real is not the external form, but the essence of things. It is impossible for anyone to express anything essentially real by imitating its exterior surface. His sculptures are noted for their visual elegance and sensitive use of materials, combining the ancient Dacian techniques in stone, marble, and wood carving with the sophistication of the Parisian avant-garde practices. In his daily life, his interest ran from science to music, being a talented singer and violinist with eclectic musical tastes. He was known for his skill in preparing traditional Romanian dishes. He was a talented handy person, being able to build his own phonograph, most of his furniture, utensils, and even doorways. Brâncuș traveled extensively in the 1930s, visiting India and Egypt, as well as European countries. The artist created his first major work, The Kiss, in 1908 when he was 32 years old. Brâncuș's sculpture gained international notoriety at the 1913 Armory Show in New York, a city that he visited 4 times and where his work frequently was exhibited. In October 1926, Constantin Brâncuș arrived from France in New York's harbor on the steamship Paris, escorted by the artist Marcel Duchamp. He brought with him the sculptures which were supposed to be exhibited in the city at the avant-garde Brynjar Gallery. The United States Customs officials opened the crates and uncovered 20 mysterious discs, eggs, and flame-like forms of carved wood, polished metal, or smooth marble. They refused to exempt them from custom duties as work of art. They imposed a standard tariff for manufactured objects of metal, 40% of the sales price, or $240, about $2,400 in today's dollars. In general, their opinion was that Brâncuș put too much imagination in his work. Guess what? In the next month, the case of Brâncuș versus United States abstract art went to trial. 6 influential figures testified for Brâncuș. Stefan, who was an established photographer, the sculptor Jacob Epstein, Forbes Watson, the editor of the review The Arts, Frank Crowninshield, the editor of Vanity Fair, William Henry Fox, the director of the Brooklyn Museum of Art, and the art critic Henry McBride. The witnesses for the government were the sculptors Robert Aiken and Thomas Jones. During the hearing, judges Young and Wade placed great emphasis on the bird's title. The tariff act didn't require that sculptures be realistic, but under a 1916 customs court decision called United States versus Olivoti, Sculptures qualified as artworks only if they were chiseled or carved, imitations of natural objects, chiefly the human form representing such objects in their true proportions. Thomas Jones, a professor at Columbia University who testified for the customs office, said that the bird was too abstract and a misuse of the form of sculpture. Robert Aiken, the government's other witness, said that art should arouse an unusual emotional reaction and steal the aesthetics, the sense of beauty. Every work by Brynjar was unique and made of a different material, with different proportions and different harmonies. Brynjar had carved different types of birds out of white, yellow, and black marble and bronze, giving them different compositions, each time coaxing the stone or the metal to reveal something new about the form. As Brynjar explained, all of those pieces were part of the same search. All my life I've been looking for one thing, the essence of flight. The court favored Brynjar. In its decision of November 28, drafted by Judge Wade, the court upheld. The object now under consideration is beautiful and symmetrical in outline, and while some difficulty might be encountered in associating it with a bird, it is nevertheless pleasing to look at, and it is the original production of a professional sculptor. And we sustain the protest and find that it is entitled to free entry. In the 1930s, Brynjar worked on two ambitious public sculpture projects. One was an unrealized temple in India for the Maharaja of Indore. The other one was the setting up at Târgu Jiu, Romania, of the monument commemorating the courage and sacrifice of the Romanian civilians who, in 1916, fought off the German invasion. This monument is comprised of the Gate of the Kiss, the Table of Silence, and a 100-foot-tall cast-iron version of the Endless Column, which he finished in 1938 and inaugurated on October 27, 1938. These sculptures, based on the symbolism of the Dacian beliefs, were made as a tribute to the young Romanians who died in the World War I fighting Germany. As a matter of fact, the Endless Column is a stylization of the funerary pillars used in Old Dacia more than 2,000 years ago, when our ancestors used to burn the body of a dead person, in this way releasing their soul from the imprisonment of the body. The soul was taken by the magic bird to the supreme god Zamoxis. Brynjar did not have enough money to finish the Endless Column, so the magic bird is missing from the top of the column, which you see right there. If you visit the heart of Transylvania, I suggest that you go near Deva or at Orăștie, a pretty large town, where you will find the Dacian History Museum, where 8 Dacian endless columns are ready to prove where Brynjar's inspiration came from. The endless column is 20